It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledging knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Ladies, gentlemen, everybody, welcome back to the #1 podcast not listened to yet by my father. We call it Topic Thunder. My name is Brooks. That's Ben. It's been a couple of weeks. So welcome back, everybody, to the Thunderdome, which we humbly call the world's most dangerous chat zone here on Topic Thunder. And if you're unfamiliar with the show, you're just flipping through your Twitch or Facebook or YouTube and you see us. Basically, the story goes, we bring topics to the table. We all chat about them, have a laugh, shed a tear, raise a drink, and get informed, and hopefully walk away a little bit more as more of a responsible, informed citizen. So again, it's been 2 weeks. Ben, how are you, sir?
I'm energized now because, you know, the last time we were recorded, I remember I started the show by saying I was playing hurt, had a little bit of a throat issue, was diagnosed with strep throat. Well, it got worse. And by Wednesday of 2 weeks ago, I was actually admitted into the hospital overnight to receive intravenous antibiotics because my strep throat turned into tonsillitis and there was an abscess in there and it got pretty fucking crazy.
You told me about the abscess part. This was not in the pre-show meeting notes, Ben.
No, I wanted to spring that on you just kind of for a fun little, you didn't know that was coming. But no, I say that to say that I am 100% healthy, ready to fucking go. Ma Jordan's in the house. She's downstairs tuning in along with Adrian. And so, yeah, I am energized, ready to go. And there's plenty to talk about that's happened in the last 2 weeks.
There certainly is, but we're gonna not buck tradition here on this show, and we're gonna go right back to the lab. Whose lab? That's Gigi's Drink Lab, ladies and gentlemen. We reserve the first segment of the show to introduce whatever odd alcoholic beverage I'm consuming for this evening, and this one I can already tell you reeks of an old fashioned. And I think that's what the pretty lady made me here. We've got a nice brown.
That's the one brown liquor drink I will drink is an old fashioned. It's good.
It's so good. And looks like we got a little rind in there. We got a cherry.
It is not an old fashioned, sir.
No.
So,
oh wait, then hold on.
Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, once he's tasted it, we are going to badger him to give us his Brooks bolts on a scale of 1 to 5. And now we get his immediate response. Let's see.
Well, I just want to, as my palate's digesting this, and as you're badgering me, I'm figuring out a way to diplomatically give a rating to a drink my live-in girlfriend gave me as to not get kicked out.
Fourth wall.
Just to show you the flow chart of the thought process, right?
Pull the curtain back on the old Topic Thunder and let you know what's going on here. Yeah. Hint: New York City's favorite.
This is a Manhattan.
A Manhattan. Okay, there you go. What is in a Manhattan? I will.
and she will. It's a lot of Ben. It's an old fashioned drink, right?
Yeah.
I think.
I've never had one. I can't say that I've ever had one.
Well, I had a sneak peek, so I know what she used bourbon. Outside of that,
here we go.
Vermouth, rye. Okay, yeah. See,
and a cherry. Okay.
Rather simple. So again, the vermouth is taking a little of the bite out of the whiskey or the bourbon in this case, especially a rye, because that was bullet rye, and that's almost 100 proof liquor. So there is some
from the rye seed. Is that why it's called rye? Is it made from like the same thing as rye bread?
You know, that's a damn fine question. So they're all made of grains, right? The genesis of all these alcohols are grains. So it probably is a rye grain. We need to get a whiskey guy on here. We talk about booze way too much, not have like people on the experts.
I know, right?
Instead, you get my Brooks bolts, which is the most uneducated, stupid guy opinion you could possibly ask somebody with a camera, and microphone in their face.
Speaking of a drinking expert, Michael V in the comments, he's absolutely right. If beer made me barf, I definitely need to stay away from a Manhattan. And by the way, if we want to have like a fucking alcohol expert on, Michael V might be our guy. That guy can put away some drinks and he knows his stuff. So.
And for sure, and Mr. V is always welcome in, and they call me Biz. If you like what you heard on the intro music, hit up my friend Biz. Just look him up. They call me Biz. He's a wonderful artist. But yeah, Manhattan. If this is coming back, right? Out there, I don't know what's hip anymore.
I would imagine in very. I bet there's like a lot of guys with man buns that love a Manhattan.
There's nothing wrong with it, to be honest with you. It's a very nice drink, kind of goes down smooth. So I don't know, maybe belly up to the bar someday and order yourself a Manhattan. All right. A lot of pent up energy to get through here. So bear with us because the recent format of the show is we kind of want to get the heavy stuff out of the way first. Not to be crude or rude about it, but there's no way to introduce this segment other than what happened in Ben's neck of the woods a couple weeks back in Uvalde. And we still don't have answers, 2 weeks out as to what exactly happened. And it's looking more and more damning against their police department regarding their inaction, and not only inaction, and we'll hear later from a parent of the school, the only action they did take was holding people back from going inside and potentially rescuing their child.
When I first heard it, Brooks, when I first heard those details start to leak, I thought that it's got to be fake. It's got to be an anti-cop story. I really believed that it would come out later that no, the cops weren't going in there to rescue their own children and not everyone's children, right? But that's what fucking happened, dude.
And
it
sad
really
enough,
fucking happened that way. And they were holding, like you said, holding parents back. Parents are screaming and yelling, "Give me your vest, give me your fucking gun. I'll go in there." I mean, you can imagine. I would say you can imagine, but I don't know that you can imagine what it would be like to be a parent there and just feel so helpless and looking at the cops going, "What are you guys doing? What are you doing? Get in there. If it costs you your lives, get the fuck in there and stop this." And the story that comes out is that they thought all the children were already dead in that room. Immediately gets called bullshit because they have 911 records of this little girl calling 911 7 fucking times. Yeah. 7! While a gunman is killing everyone in her class. And they did nothing. I can't believe this, Brooks. I can't believe this is real. And still, we are doing nothing. Nothing about it.
That's the kick, right? Because it turns out it is an anti-cop story, right? Because this kind of touches on the segue too. Not to bury the lead here, because I think this. First of all, this police chief, Arredondo. First of all, why does a school in a town of 15,000 have its a grade school? I'm sorry, or unless it was like the actual like school systems police force. Is this a thing? Do school systems have their own police force?
I don't know. Well, yes.
Yeah, no. This story from the Texas Tribune, texastribune.org. Yeah, it spells out that the everything, not only what this guy has done and didn't do. Oh, and by the way, this guy showed up to an active shooter scene without a police radio.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's being reported in numerous places, and including the New York Times. So I don't think those folks go to press.
I get it. You got caught with your pants down, so to speak, for lack of a better term, and you panicked, and you made the wrong decisions. Get out there and fucking own it. This hiding from it and not wanting to talk to investigators is not. Who's giving these people advice? Because this is looking way worse than just coming out and owning it and going, "My God, for the rest of my life, I will forever be burdened by the thought that the decisions I made and my inaction cost the lives of children. I will live with that for the rest of my days. And I am so sorry. And I cannot apologize enough. I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. I think a lot of the world would be like, we're still not happy with it. We still think you're a fuck, but at least you're showing some sort of contrition. You're not running from it. And that's what they're doing now, man, is they're running from it. Why? Why are you running from it? It's not going to get better. It's not going to go away this way. It's just not.
Thanks to Adrian for pointing out and letting us know a majority of the school districts in Texas have their own police force. Okay, cool. Did not know that. Thank you very much. And the whole protect and serve thing. Let's cut to the chase here. Right. We've talked about the role police play in America for a long time, and it's not us that they're out there to protect and serve. And if Breonna Taylor, who we just had the 2-year anniversary of her murder, if that didn't tell you, if George Floyd didn't tell you, right? If the inaction when cities like Portland and Chicago have mass unrest, and it's just like it's gone and let to fester like that, and then you see this situation, you see the things that happen in Buffalo. Do you need any more evidence of what the police are there to do? And I say this as a fan of good policing, and I think we all would be, right? But at this point, you're
definitely. I lean more towards the all cops are bad fucking movement. Now that I'm not all the way there, because I know some good dudes that are cops, and that's the only thing that stops me from being that, because I do know some dudes that are good dudes that are cops.
Me too. Yeah.
And then, but at the same time, I do hold some disappointment towards those guys not holding their coworkers more accountable and speaking up, because the culture is, if you speak up, you lose your job. And it takes some courage to do that, obviously. But they're in a different situation where I think that they're in a job where if you see something, you have to say something. A lot of those guys, even good dudes, don't say something because they're team players.
But then they're worried about their pension, and they're worried about their kids, and it's a bit of a blackmail, right?
Right.
So we're going to talk about the inaction of the police force, not only a local police force, but then the state police force. And it took Border Patrol to go in, because apparently Border Patrol were the only ones that had the key. Did you read this?
No. Yeah. Honestly, I once I realized that the stories were true about the cops not going in, I didn't want to read more, because honestly, I didn't want to be more pissed off about it.
I have friends at work that were like, okay, because I'm like, as me, as things are happening, I'm like, oh my God, like this is what Twitter's for. Somebody was like, all right, with a kid of his own, was like, okay, you can. I want to know, but I don't want to know. So just it's too much right now. I was like, I get it. I guess a certain extent, right? Because I don't have children, right. But I have family members who are teachers.
Right.
I have family members that have kids. I have a lot of friends, dear friends, that have kids this age. Mm-hmm. So while they're not mine, I've held some of these kids since they were born. I have just as strong a connection as anybody could have, and not be blood.
And Gigi brings up a great point in the Thunderdome. She says, "Gee, wonder why Border Patrol had the keys to a school where many children of immigrants attended." I mean, those are dots that can be connected. And if you're looking, sure.
And why isn't this police chief being cooperative? Because mea culpa is not the least he can do. The least he can do is resign.
Right.
And that's what you expect people of good ethics and conscience to do when 19 people get slaughtered due to your inaction. And I don't want to hear you couldn't have saved it. Even if it was one person that he saved by giving the go to go in there, that's one more person left in this, one more family without somebody missing from the dinner table.
Mm-hmm. And Ryan Hansen's right. This is the shit that gives traction to the defund the police movement, right? Maybe if they spent more money on training for situations like this, they would have been better prepared.
Are you trying to tell me that the town of Udalve needs to spend more than 40% of their city's budget on law enforcement? Because that's what they currently do. 40% of that city's budget. And if you're curious, if that seems like high to you, I suggest you take a look at your city's law enforcement budget and see how much money is being funneled towards law enforcement.
Lockport Joe in the comments says, I think he took a spot on the city council. And I don't know if
He did.
So he did.
With it on, he was sworn in secret shortly thereafter. Of course, he was elected prior to this tragedy.
We're just trying to do it slide, not to make news.
Right. And again, if you were a man of any ethics whatsoever, you just step down. You just step down because
absolutely, because that you fucked up. You don't get to you don't get to come back from that. You're right. Now that you say that, you're right. That's the first thing. I'm sorry and I'm resigning. That's how you lead with this thing.
I'll live with this for as long as I walk this earth. It is the greatest mistake I've ever made in my life. I apologize, and this is not enough. And then you just step down. You just whatever, man. Like, I know, like, again, but what was running through his mind? His career, his family, his this, his that. Like, it's bullshit. Something's really fishy, really shady. We don't have all of the logs from the internal police communications, like Police Scanner. Apparently, you don't have to go too far on a Twitter to find out who's in your local area doing a police scanner. Listen, somebody's always posting something that's going on via the police scanners. And I was looking it up before the show. I still can't find that they ever found it, but apparently there's about 18 minutes missing from the police scanner, from police communications, right?
Come on, guys. So, again, who is giving these guys advice on this? Who is there? Anyone in the room that is going, guys, this is the exact opposite way we should be handling this. Like, you can't fuck this up. Talk about fucking up consistently. Like, they continue to fuck up. Like, these are genuine fuck ups. They're as human beings. That is their human nature, is to fuck up, because that's all they fucking do is fuck shit up.
Raise your hand if you've ever been fired from a job for something less than making a decision to save a life.
For sure. 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So at the very least, some accountability. And if this guy's not going to resign, which the arrogance, my God, the arrogance, the least the city council and the grieving community of this town can do is have him fired.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Hansen at the optics couldn't be worse. Aunt Chris is talking about the Chicago public schools. 179 million was just taken out of the school's budget to pay for police pensions. Like, that doesn't do any good. That doesn't make any of those schools any safer, of course. She says 4 teachers lost their jobs at her school. CPS is laying off teachers. How can that happen in a teacher shortage? That's a great question. Like, how does that make sense? You can't. If anybody is willing to show up to a Chicago public school and teach those kids and go through the nonsense that is dealing with those kids, why would you fire them? Like, outside of something egregious like having a relationship with a kid or doing something really inappropriate, that doesn't make sense. That's shocking to me. Like, and the whole conversation, we can dip into it here because since we're talking about teachers, the immediate now again they want to arm all the teachers, Brooks.
Oh, one door
in and out. Yeah, one door in and out. Metal detectors,
armed guards, armed teachers,
every door,
barricades, barbed wire, fences everywhere, checkpoints. What are we talking about here?
That's a prison. You're describing a fucking prison. What we're sending kids to then is a prison. And as what has also been pointed out, these same fucking nut jobs are talking about freedom. Kasim, one of the guys I follow, pointed out, talks about these people were talking about have kids wearing masks was, not necessary and was fear inducing, was traumatizing these kids. But on the same token, there are when a school gets shot up, they want to do everything but address the issue of the gun.
You can't even have a conversation about it.
You can't have a conversation. How did an 18-year-old kid with no job and no credit purchase thousands of dollars worth of military grade equipment and an AR-15 at 18 years old? No one's asking those questions. That's an important question we should be trying to fucking find out. How did this kid afford all this? And how did we not see the fucking red flags again?
Actually, I kind of know the answer to this.
Okay.
The gun manufacturers are allowed to finance purchases like a car.
But he's an 18-year-old.
Right. Well, okay. Well, I mean, we clearly see in a system set up to milk people for all their money. They have no problem giving $100,000 loan to somebody that for an education that they know they're not going to be able to pay back in 2 lifetimes. But a house, we're going to make sure we get the right people in at the right time, right?
Yep.
So the same thing. You want to buy a gun? Cool. We'll help you pay for it. Come on in.
And much like we talked about after the Buffalo shooting, there were many red flags with this kid online that the NSA should clearly, if they have the access they have, this kid should have been on their radar. He was not. Local law enforcement knew who the kid was, but nobody's doing any due diligence when it comes time for that gun dealer. There's no oversight of that guy's. The guy that sold that kid all of that weaponry and all of that fucking armor, there's no accountability for him.
No culpability whatsoever.
No. And this is something that I have well read into, is the laws that have been put into place that hamper the ATF from doing their job of inspecting and auditing gun dealers. And it has long been my contention that if we should do something with the manufacturer, right? The manufacturer should be accountable for where does the gun go when it leaves your factory. You are accountable for making sure it gets to where it's supposed to get, and you're also accountable for where that gun dealer selling it wrong, because you're in business with that gun dealer.
Right. Both points on that end have to be secure, right?
And they're not, right? They're not, because the NRA has paid millions of dollars to put literally sneak laws into bills that have nothing to do with gun control that hamper the ATF, right? The fact that the ATF has as many agents today as they had in the 1970s. Yet there are something like 100,000 gun dealers in the United States. I think it's even more than that, to be honest.
That's just the licensed ones, right?
Right. That's just the licensed one. That doesn't even count the guys that are at the gun shows that are skirting around the laws there, right? The loopholes that are there.
Or being what the other big problem is, being a straw buyer, which is that you're buying it for someone else or another group of people, right? Because they can't for whatever reason. Which
is something that the Chicago police found what was happening when they were doing stings. When you always hear about, well, Chicago has a gun ban and they have all these guns, blah, blah, blah. Well, the Chicago Police Department did a sting to find out, well, where are the gangs getting these guns? Guess what was happening? They were getting people without records, normally girlfriends, women in the gang that didn't have criminal records, and they were taking them to counties surrounding Chicago. And if you're not from the Chicagoland area, you don't understand that from Chicago, downtown Chicago, you can be in another county in like 15 minutes. So they were going to other counties. Yeah. Other counties. They would send these women in, or young men with no criminal records, send them into these gun dealers, and they would buy dozens of cheap handguns at a time. One person. And the gun dealers were like, yep, here you go. Because they're all Pro 2A, right? And so they take that Pro 2A shit really seriously, and they're willing to skate the laws because they know that they're very, very unlikely to be held accountable. Do you know how many guns get stolen from gun dealers on a yearly basis? Hundreds of thousands of guns are reported stolen by gun dealers.
Again, we went
How
to
is that possible?
The statistic that there's 1.2 guns for every one citizen in America. Like,
How did they get there? How did the gun get from the manufacturer to the street? The gun dealer is the middleman, and they look the other way when the guns get stolen. I mean, if there is one business you're going to go into where you absolutely better have the best fucking security over your merchandise, it should be if you're a gun dealer, right? Your fucking dealer, your building that you are running out of should be like Fort fucking Knox, so that nobody is able to steal anything, let alone a gun, out of your business. But hundreds of thousands of guns get stolen. It's because these gun dealers aren't doing their jobs, and they know they aren't held accountable. You know why? Because they're only allowed to be audited by law. The ATF is allowed to audit them once every 5 years.
Well, speaking of the way the NRA operates, the NRA has made sure that the CDC cannot investigate the gun problem as a public health crisis.
Correct.
You want to know why? Because they'll be obvious that guns are the problem.
How about this one for you? If this doesn't infuriate you, the FBI and law enforcement only has access to gun purchase data for 48 hours after the purchase of the gun. After 48 hours of that gun purchase, the FBI and other law enforcement agencies do not have access to that information. You know how I figured that one out? Because that's what the Las Vegas shooter did. He knew the loophole on that, and he would buy a gun. He'd wait 48 hours or more, and then he'd go and buy another one, and he'd wait 48 hours or more, and then he'd go and buy another one, because he knew that way he would never, ever, ever come up on a red flag list.
We could do a whole show on gun control, right? Right. And everything, because I know I've seen in the chats, like everybody's like bringing up all of the talking points on, I guess, what we call our side of this, and right. What and I had a story in here. We could talk about Tulsa and how quickly that dude was able to buy a gun and kill people with it, right? In just hours, right? Yep. What I'm tired of, what I'm sick and tired of, are the people who just refuse to try to do anything. Like we can't put the genie back in the bottle, Brooks. The guns are already out there. We can stop making more,
right?
Gun buyback programs are hugely successful. And you start offering $1,000, $1,500 for one of these AR-15s, people are going to turn them in.
Yes.
And then those are the ones that won't get found underneath somebody's bed. So an 18-year-old can go and shoot his grandma or in the face or a school full of kids.
But Brooks, the criminals will still get the guns. No.
Right.
Here's how. If they stop making AR-15s right now, they stop making them going forward. On the black market, do you know what the price of an AR-15 will become? Exorbitant, where an 18-year-old kid wouldn't be able to even find one on the black market. An 18-year-old kid, if they couldn't go to their fucking local Walmart or gun shop and get an AR-15, where would you even start if you wanted to get a gun on the black market?
I'd go to Indiana.
Yeah, right. But you wouldn't. But it would be. But that AR-15 would likely cost $12,000. Well,
easy.
Guess what? You're not getting an 18-year-old kid probably doesn't have $12,000 to drop on that AR-15, right? And so then what may happen is the guy calms down, like the Tulsa shooter. Maybe he can't get his hands on an AR-15 and within hours turn around and go shoot a bunch of people. Maybe if he can't get that access to that gun, he goes back to his car and goes, "Fuck, all right," maybe rethinks it. All right, maybe I don't need to do this. Right? Gets that moment of clarity. Right? There's that possibility as well.
The conversation is always going to boil down to gun control, right? There's going to be a certain sect of people that want to ban these outright. I don't see a civilian use for military grade or style weapons, because I don't want to split hairs, and I don't want anybody coming up like, it's not military grade, it's a mock of the M4 Brooks. Can you kill 30 people in less than a minute with it? It's a military weapon. What's the other point of that weapon?
Exactly. What is the other point of it? Well, I just like to shoot guns. Find something else to shoot.
It relax. I saw this. I saw that. It relaxes me. Dude, do you know what the stress your body goes under when you're next to gunfire? You might get your adrenaline kick, and that's what you might be thinking is calming and stress releasing to you. But every other sense in your body's going, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? There's a physical recoil, there's a smell, there's the bang, there's everything that is telling your body stress. And you think that calms you down? No, it does not, sir.
What is that? And my way, when I hear that, I think you're fucking Looney Tunes. You have mental health.
You need a gun to calm down?
Exactly. I mean, and I feel the same way about people that are like, well, I need it for protection. And it's like,
15. I always ask from what?
From somebody breaking into my house.
You're gonna die too.
No one. That's such an absurd argument, because home invasions are overwhelmingly, like 99.9% of home invasions are done when no one is home, right? Because guess what? Criminals don't like confrontation. They prefer not to run into anyone while they're stealing your TV, right? And the fact that you think that there's maybe someone that's going to bust in your front door and murder your entire family for no reason is paranoia. That's paranoia. And I just don't. From when I hear, wow, you're so afraid. Get a dog and a security system, and you're good. No one is gonna fuck with your house if you have those two things. Bottom line, the crackhead that was gonna steal your TV, the last thing that motherfucker wants is for you to wake up and confront him about it. He's just trying to get his next fix. He does not want you beating his ass or shooting him. No, these people that are invading your house, they don't want to kill you. And if for some reason some psycho wanted to kill you and your entire family in your sleep, you would be dead before you even opened your eyes.
They're not doing that, right?
You wouldn't have the chance to reach into your nightstand to pull out your pistol to protect your family. Because guess what? If I'm going to bust into your house with the idea to kill you and your family, I'm going to be real quiet about it. And the first thing I'm going to do is go into the parents' bedroom and pop both of them always. What are you going to do? Like, anybody that's going to do that is going to do that. So you're not protecting anybody.
You're telegraphing. Which, to give a little tease for later on, we might be, somebody may have telegraphed their motives in a story that in our most favorite segment called the Lightning Round. So we'll get to that.
At least on this rant. Last but not least, and I want to leave everyone with this. Gun in the home, statistically speaking, 80% more likely to injure or kill someone in the home than it is someone outside the home. Why do you have a gun in your house?
It's just a weird flex to let the NRA dictate our firearm gun policy in the United States when the NRA is so dirty. And yes, the list of politicians they give money to is absurd. Let's also not forget Maria Butina, one Black Widow, Russian agent extraordinaire, made her rounds with a lot of the folks up in the NRA, and for good reason, and got rewarded handsomely with her own television show on Russian state television. Right. If you can't start putting some things together there, money and influence, you just don't want to see it. And that's the most, again, frustrating part is that people just don't want to do anything. Like, this is just the way it is, Ben. This is just the way it is.
So before we move off this story, and I know I kind of sidetracked us there a little bit I told you guys I'm fired up this week. I'm rested. I'm ready to go. I'm fired up. But I don't want to miss out on this story about the mob and the video that you got that goes along. So go ahead. Let's hit that before we move on.
Absolutely. So a lot of heroes came from the story. None of them were the police. They were folks like us who pay taxes to the police that sat there and literally did nothing as 19 people got murdered. So here's a story from somebody who actually did something on that tragic day.
You're being very uncooperative. I said, well, you're going to have to arrest me because I'm going in there, and I'm telling you right now, I don't see none of y'all in there. Y'all are standing with snipers and y'all are far away. If y'all don't go in there, I'm going in there. He immediately put me in cuffs.
She says after Uvalde police officers told marshals to uncuff Gomez, she ran towards the school.
As soon as they uncuffed me, I jumped that first gate fence. And once I jumped it, I went to my son's class, and I knocked on the door, and I remember the teacher saying, I'm like, hey, they're already bolt cutting the fence to get me. She's like, you think we have time to get out? I said, y'all have time. I'm going to run for my other son.
Once she was assured her son was okay, Gomez ran to get her other child, encountering more officers who tried to stop her.
So I start yelling, and I'm being a cooperative, and I'm like, well, y'all aren't doing what are y'all doing? Y'all ain't doing y'all need to be in here. Give me your vest. Somebody give me a vest, something. I started paying attention to how far the shots were being, so that I knew the shooter was all the way still by my first son's class. So when I went to my second son's door, the teacher didn't want to open the door for me. So that's when they started escorting me out. And as I see that they're opening my son's door, I go run for my son, and I get him.
With both of her kids out safe, Gomez still can't shake the thought of those who didn't make it.
While you were inside the school, did you see officers
There was not
inside
one
the school?
officer inside the school when I
In
ran
the
to my
areas-
second son's class. There was not one officer.
And you were hearing gunshots, so you knew
You
that
could hear the
it was an
gunshots.
active shooter.
It was still active. The gunshots were still active. They were not in there. There was no one in there. If anything, when I pulled up, my car was closer to the school than where the snipers and everybody that was laying on the ground were.
When you heard that it took law enforcement 75 minutes before they went in and stopped the shooter, what was your thinking, having been inside the school yourself?
I don't know. I was just thinking that they could have saved many more lives. They could have gone into that classroom, and maybe 2 or 3 would have been gone, but they could have saved the whole class. They could have done something, gone through the window, sniped them through the window. I mean, something, but nothing was being done. If anything, they were being more aggressive on us parents that were willing to go in there. And like I told one of the officers, I don't need you to protect me. Get away from me. I don't need your protection. If anything, I need you to go in there with me to go protect my kids. And if anything, they were being more aggressive on us. They were more pertained on keeping us back than getting into that school.
God damn it.
You know, Ben, that's just a crisis actor, and this is a false flag operation meant to. That's already out there too. I don't know when you want to
I think
dignify
those
that.
motherfuckers would have learned from their fucking, mentor Alex Jones that they don't want to go down that road. Alex Jones is still trying to figure out how he's going to pay all that shit off.
No, well, stand by, because I'm sure we're not going to hear the end of that story as we kind of figure out what that particular police department was actually doing in those precious minutes of inaction.
I mean, if we didn't have that lady's first person account like that, like, what the hell? Like, they would have been able to cover it up. Like,
all right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about like a fuck ton. Yes, a fuck ton of heavily armed cops were afraid of a kid, an 18-year-old kid. Trained heavily armed cops were afraid of a kid with an AR-15. Why would they be afraid of such a gun? If the cops are afraid of one kid with one gun, maybe that kid shouldn't be able to have that gun. Maybe no one should. I think we've shown as a society we don't deserve the toy.
Right.
And if every parent out there knows exactly what I'm talking about, and that includes doggy parent. You don't deserve you've been bad. You don't deserve that toy. We don't deserve those toys. We've shown we're irresponsible with them. We don't know how to handle them properly. We don't care enough. And again, the people that are silent, the people that sit back and just throw their hands up, they're like, well, that's just the new norm. What's normal about shooting up a school full of kids, or a hospital, or a movie theater, or a mosque, or a church? There's nothing normal about this, right?
Talk about arming teachers. Does it even cross their mind for a second that there might be a day that a teacher fucking loses their shit and isn't there to protect the kids with that gun that we encouraged them to bring into the classroom? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it would be a parent-teacher night is when they lose their shit.
These teachers are under a tremendous amount of stress, right? And in some schools are straight up threatened by students.
Oh, yeah.
Physical harm, right? What happens the first time that the white teacher in the black school is confronted by a black kid, feels threatened by that student, and kills that student in front of his entire fucking class with the gun that we encouraged that teacher to bring into the classroom to protect those children? Nobody thinks about that. Nobody fucking thinks about it when they say this dumb anything to say to not say. All right, maybe we shouldn't have this bill.
Again, maybe this wouldn't. This is terrible, right? There's no good coming of this, but you would expect the people in these situations to step forward and take responsibility for this.
At least.
This is to circle back to it. We could talk about all of this, but these cops still haven't said our fault.
Right, my bad.
Not even just like they don't. According to Aaron Dondo, the police chief for this particular police force, he doesn't want to talk about it publicly until the funerals are over, out of respect for the mourning and the grieving.
Oh shit!
Listen, motherfucker, if you would have done something, maybe half of those people wouldn't. You could have waited more than 2 weeks. You know, it appalls me, the lack of accountability. Those cops just sat around. There wasn't one dude on that force. This is what screams to me, because I'm really concerned about that missing time on the police radio and what was being said.
Yeah.
If a lot of these cops were rushing in or grabbed their own kids and left, let me go out on a limb in here and say a majority of brown children inside the classroom, and then didn't breach the school for over an hour, and which to me, and I'm not trained in tactical affairs, but that screams a little bit irresponsible, right? Yeah. What was being said? Why did you break every protocol of your training and just sit on it? What was said in that missing time?
Yeah, and we're gonna get it, because this is, the more they fight it, the more that people are going to want to know, right? And investigators are going to press, because they're going to be pressed by their higher ups that we're not the public isn't going to let this go. That's what I think that they think, is if we just hold them off, something else will happen and the news cycle will change. I think that's their strategy.
Sure. And look, they just had a whole presidential administration that did the whole deflect blame, and everybody else don't admit to it.
Right.
They pretend like it never happened or blame the other guy.
Right.
So there's an entire swath of this population that's going, well, you know, they didn't say it's their fault, so it must be okay in some form or another, because it's okay.
Yeah.
To not take responsibility for your mistakes, apparently.
Courtney, you're right too. Not a single independent thinker among them.
None.
Not one of them had the courage that woman we just listened to did. Not one of them said, you know what? Fuck this. I don't care what my orders are. I don't care what my superior. Fuck this. I'm ending this. I'm going to do something. I know better than just to sit out here and wait. None of them. Not one of them.
And where is the oversight going to come from? Texas Rangers? That's okay. There's some good old boys on that department too.
Yeah.
You're going to have to take it. It's going to be a federal level investigation to get people from the outside kind of come in. And that's going to take years.
Yeah.
Right. And in the meantime, these cops are still going to be paid. They're still going to be accruing a pension. Some of them might leave for other jobs before the hammer falls, so their names aren't in the paper or anything like that. But it's going to take years, and these guys are just going to walk away and just get paid for this. They're going to maintain their jobs for this. Think about the worst fuck up you could probably make as a law enforcement officer. Not stopping a violent crime when you could. When you had numbers and training and equipment. Shit, man, we've seen them
involved.
We've seen them send robots, dude. Robots into buildings because they thought there was a bomb.
Right.
They thought there was a bomb in an empty building. They sent a fucking robot. You're going to tell me that these guys didn't have gear to go in there?
Did you see, by the way, that one of the cop cars with the flashing lights in that video, one of the cop cars was a Tesla?
Oh,
so they
sure.
could afford a Tesla cop car,
sure.
but they couldn't afford a fucking robot or the equipment. it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and then the backlash because everybody's in on this gag here. Again, it's not a gag. That's probably
And Adrian there, after speaking critically about the incident to media outlets, Gomez said an officer threatened to charge her for violating probation on an unrelated charge for obstruction of justice. So they went and they ran that woman that hurt
every little thing,
to
right?
say, shut up or we'll do this. Come on.
Yeah.
These guys are so fucking dirty, and they continue again. They're fuck ups. So everything they do, every decision they make is the wrong one because they're fuck ups. Speaking of fuck ups,
Well, I mean,
our boys are fuck.
the Proud Boys fucked up, but it's not the only ones that fucked up. And that's it. We're gonna lead right. We're gonna go right from that soft topic right into this soft topic. Yeah, remember when a group of people tried to overthrow our functioning government for their own fascist needs?
I do remember.
I do. There's a group of us that haven't forgotten. And now the leader of the Proud Boys and a handful of other jerks have been charged with seditious conspiracy in the Capitol riot. This story has been somewhat of a little hobby for me since it happened on January 6th.
Yeah, well, we talked about it a bit. Yeah.
Just a little bit, right? And harken back to your social media back when that was happening, or back when you had riots in your cities and things were burning and stuff, and everybody was really quick to blame BLM and other activist movements, right? And when evidence started to trickle in that groups like the First Amendment Protectorate were involved, the Proud Boys were involved, Oath Keepers. What are Oath? Babe, do you know what Oath Keepers are? I just heard about it. I just read about it. Like, yeah, look what we have here. Another group of extremists that were now, as the onion gets peeled back, highly informed, highly organized, and funded, as we're going to get to here. And this story from the AP, the top leader of the far-right Proud Boys extremist group and other members were charged Monday with seditious conspiracy, with federal prosecutors say a coordinated attack on U.S. Capitol stopped Congress from certifying President Joe Biden's 2020 electoral victory. The latest indictment against Henry Enrique Tarrio, the former Proud Boys chairman, and 4 others linked to the group, comes as the U.S. House Committee investigating the January 6th riot prepares to begin public hearings this week to lay out its findings. So hey, get ready for next week's show.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun. We're going to spend 40 fucking minutes talking, I promise.
Yes. The indictment alleges that the Proud Boys conspire to forcibly oppose the lawful transfer of presidential power. Tarrio and others, Ethan Nordine, Joseph Biggs, Zachary Reel, and Dominic Pizzola, were previously charged with different conspiracy counts. They are all scheduled to stand trial in August in Washington, D.C.'s federal court. The seditious conspiracy charges are among the most serious filed so far. By the way, that's a Civil War era law that they're being charged with.
Yeah, right. That is awesome.
Record. That's
you have to really fuck up some shit to get charged with a Civil War era fucking.
They've got to look at the law book and go, and like what page is that on? It's
been years. Yeah, one of these.
We got rid of the Dewey Decimal System. Nobody tracks this shit anymore. The first time that
you're right. They must have been like, wait, there's a law, right?
I think so. I think I remember hearing about this in school.
There better be, because if not, we got to get one on the book.
We called somebody. A couple months back, we covered when Stuart Rhodes and 10 other members of the Oath Keepers were also charged with seditious conspiracy. So that brings the number up to 15. 3 of the Oath Keepers have already pleaded guilty, and it calls for 20-year prison stay. So a lot of these guys are actually now turning and flipping. If you saw that Peter Navarro, aide to the president, also got indicted, was arrested this weekend. This is the classic organized crime prosecutorial tactic and plan, right? Start with the people at the very bottom. You start with, the bottom, and you start milking those people for information. And if you are willing to give me more information, we might be willing to discuss a leaner sentence or a charge other than seditious conspiracy.
Yeah. Wait till it comes out that those Proud Boy guys had contacts in, I don't know, maybe some certain congressmen or senators, offices that were maybe leaking them information and communicating with them about things. I wouldn't be surprised if that were to have been
I'm
taken.
glad you brought that up because this is where the AP article doesn't really go. And then some of my favorite Twitter followers were actually quoting and presenting actual snippets of the indictment. So this one, the first one is from Ryan J. Riley. And it is a copy of the indictment and goes like this. At 2:57 p.m., Tario posted a message on social media that read 1776, and the revolutionaries are now in the Rayburn building, which referenced the House of Representatives office building, which had been referenced in the 1776 return plan received by Tario on December 30th. You might just be saying, what? There was a plan circulated, the 1776 returns plan. Tario was received a copy of that on the 30th of December, a full almost week before the little vacation tour of the nation's capital.
News. That is definitely news. We didn't know it. That's not something that's been reported before, is it?
This is unsealing of the grand jury's evidence. So you got to understand how big of an investigation this is, right? And every time a little bit of information gets unturned, because this is all going back to legit, all going to get tied into Trump and Russia. And I know you might be like, all right, Brooks, Trump and Russia was responsible for everything. It's just where every arrow is pointing. And we'll get into why this particular group has these ties to Trump and how they tie into Trump. We've heard about a gentleman named Ali Alexander before, and it's becoming plainly to anybody who's been presented to this evidence in these grand juries that this one dude was the nexus point of the physical army. We'll get to that in just a second. The second, we're going to get into more about this particular post and the indictment. At 7:39, person one sent two text messages to Tario that read, "Brother, you know we made this happen, and I'm so proud of my country today." Tario responded, "I know." Just 5 minutes later, the conversation continued with person one texting, "1776, motherfuckers." Tario responded, "The Winter Palace," which I don't know what that reference is.
That is, yeah. I wonder what that is. That's got to be some sort of code for something.
Sure, but is that Laura Margot? I don't know. Person one text, "Dude, did we just influence history?" Tario responds, "Let's first see how this plays out." Person one, "They have to certify today or it's invalid." Again, let me finish this. These messages were exchanged before the Senate returned to its chamber at approximately 8 p.m. to resume certifying the Electoral College vote. Yeah, remember we talked about John Eastman, attorney for the president, drafted a 6-point memo about what they could do if the vote was delayed or there was some sort of calamity that precluded them from certifying the vote. Dude. It's a tangled web.
Gigi is actually nails it. Check this out. The Winter Palace is a place in St. Petersburg, Russia. It is a palace in St. Petersburg, Russia, that served as the official residence of the Russian emperor from 1732 to 1917.
Keep scrolling. I want to know. I want to find out if it was used as the KGB as a headquarters.
Let's see. Usage of the palace. The last czars. Looks like.
That would be a code and a tie to Vladimir Putin then if they reference that and somehow because he trained in St. Petersburg. That was like his home away from home when it wasn't corrupting Western leaders in East Berlin. So it would be like interesting to know, and we can certainly look more about that up as you're looking that up. The last bit from this one excerpt at 11:16 p.m. Tario posted a message on social media that featured a video of a masked man resembling Tario wearing a flowing black cape standing in front of a deserted Capitol. The video was captioned "Premonition." Now, What does that mean? Let's come back to that. Here's another. This is the same. So let me scroll. That's from Ryan.
Is this one? So here's the question: what device, whose phone is Tario using to communicate? Is that the one you're looking for?
Yes.
I have that pulled up here myself.
So this is the same guy that on January 4th was arrested for burning a Black Lives Matter flag from a historic black church in Washington, D.C. So he wasn't there for January 6th because he was in jail and they had his phone, but he wasn't cooperating and wouldn't give them the access to the phone to crack it, right? So it's actually not that one.
So at this time he's in prison.
He's in prison while this is happening.
And so how is he text message communicating with anyone? Right? That's the question.
There are a lot of questions regarding this too, right? Let's see. Let's go to the Scott McFarland Twitter feed, because Scott McFarland has been literally in court for every single one of these MFers trials and arraignments and hearings.
That's exhausting.
Yeah, and he to his credit, and this guy, he's actually got the face and the voice. He'll be like the anchor on the CBS Evening News sooner than later. But this
is it something with the McFarland name?
Maybe. This is so we mentioned the guy, I believe his name was Jeffrey Nordine, as one of the 4 people that were indicted with seditious conspiracy charges, right? On January 2nd, 4 days before that fateful day, Tario provided Nordine with a photograph of a family member's debit card so Nordine could book his flight to Washington, D.C. Nordine used that credit card to book his flight. If you were going and it was a peaceful tour, you didn't mean anything, evil or violent or malicious by it, why are you buying your tickets with somebody else's credit card?
That is weird. A family member, it's not even like, hey, I'll buy it for you. Use my card. No, here's my family member's card.
Tario family member.
Yeah.
So I'm going to circle now back to my good friend Seth Abramson, who's been covering Trump from the beginning. One of 2 people, Seth and Sarah Kendzior, who have been out front and very, very, very vocal about basically the criminal conspiracy that is masquerading as government in a lot of cases, right?
Yep.
Let's see. I want to scroll because we already covered that particular part. Between December 30th and December 31st, Tario communicated multiple times with an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury. On December 30th, this individual sent Tario a 9-page document titled 1776 Returns. The document set forth a plan to occupy, quote, a few crucial buildings, end quote, in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, including the House and Senate office buildings around the Capitol, with as many people as possible to show our politicians we the people are in charge. After sending the document, the individual stated, "The revolution is more important than anything." Tario responded, "That's what every waking moment consists of. I'm not playing games."
Who is that guy?
Known to the grand jury.
Who is that guy? Oh, man. I can't wait for these fucking hearings. I can't wait. There's going to be some shit drop. Who is this guy?
Mr. Abramson goes on. On the morning of the protest, they added, the document suggests having scouts drive around the buildings to look for roadblocks. And then recall that Ali Alexander, using Oathkeeper and Proud Boy security, said his team would be scouting the area on January 5th. In order to run the security for Alexander before January 6th or on January 6th, paramilitary outfits like the Proud Boys, Oathkeepers, the 1AP needed to know what he was planning. And increasingly, Alexander's plans sound identical to those of the Proud Boys and Oathkeepers. Note.
Never mind. Oh, I'm getting ahead of
Oh wait, no, go ahead. Any questions, please?
Ali Alexander. We've that name. Why is that name ringing a bell? What?
This guy.
You're gonna get that, right?
We've talked about him for a couple of different weeks. We mentioned him specifically a couple weeks ago. Again, he's shaping up to be the focal point, the point of communication from the Trump administration, at the highest levels of the Trump administration, to these various radical organizations. So, note again. Let's just in order to run security for Alexander before January 6th or on January 6th, these outfits like the Proud Boys or Oath Keepers of 1AP needed to know what he was planning. Tario got the plan on December 30th. Who did he get it from?
Had to have been this Alexander guy.
Right. Who's then passed it on to the Oath Keepers
Right.
and the 1AP.
Getting everybody on the same page.
And everybody on the same page. So if you remember back, and I don't want to make anybody watch video of that day, but there were dudes who clearly know what they were doing, hand on shoulder, like a paramilitary group, making an urban forced hostile entrance, walking hand on shoulder up the stairs as all these other buffoons, the people who are caught up in the moment, dumps. These dudes were breaching the Capitol for very specific reason. To withhold the vote, to make sure that vote didn't happen. They had plans for Mike Pence. They had plans for Nancy Pelosi. They had plans for a whole lot of other people that may or may not have been the actual objective, because the objective was to get Trump back in power, to invalidate the election, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Note that Roger Stone, we know Roger Stone, he was in the Punchable Face tournament.
Yes, that fucking the guy that looks like he was a villain from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Exactly. He has, and every day, and you can do it, you can Google it.
Yeah.
Well-known Proud Boys as security, Oath Keepers as security. Another dude knee deep in all kinds of political connections, dirty political connections, that uses the Proud Boys as security. What about it? What happened to Andy Frain? The Yellow Jackets of Andy Frain Security. So that's my rant on this one, ladies and gentlemen, that we're not even done yet with finding out what everybody's role in January 6th is. The truth is not even about to come out. Just a sliver of what the committee is. They have enough to go public with a lot of shit, right? That's the tip of the iceberg.
It's gonna be must-see TV. I think. I think it's fascinating.
It's going to be met with deaf ears, because America is just going to be like, the what? Huh? Inflation, my gas prices. What is this? And not understanding how close we came to losing our democracy, and how much they use this as a plan moving forward for the next election. That's what that video that said premonition was all about. Honestly, we've gone long on two separate topics. Everybody's probably going.
After 2 weeks off, we generally give you a supersized episode, and sit back and enjoy it. We're on one.
We're on one, because I wanted to check in with our good friend Elon.
Yes,
and all of the good things he's been up to. Oh, genius Elon!
Desperately trying to find a way out of that deal.
But he's so smart. He did it to own the libs, Ben. He's a brilliant guy.
Yeah, I bet he is. He made a lot of money, and if he gets away with that, that's really all that matters to him. If he made a lot of money on that stock price and waiting those 11 days. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. He made a hefty amount of money on Twitter stock, and that's what led to this shareholders, suing him.
And now, the Twitter board and shareholders are suing him, and because he hasn't been exactly a great partner. And if you know anything about Elon Musk's background, he's not, right. He's not. He's a capital venturist. Is basically what it boils down to.
Yeah, he will steal your idea and make it his own, and bury you so that you will never know that. Then the world will never know that he didn't come up with that shit.
Which is the irony of Tesla, right? because that's what Thomas Edison did to Nikola Tesla. Just know your history.
Honestly, I think that low key Elon Musk did that on purpose.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Enjoyed every second of it, right? Enjoyed every second of it.
He is. I mean, the guy. He comes from an emerald mining family.
Blood emeralds. So I found a really cool little story because Elon's going to be sued by Twitter, and we have to figure that Twitter really doesn't want to get into a long, prolonged, dragged out fight in court. They want their money, right? They want to stick him with his deal, right? Yeah, you said you're going to pay him what is now twice the value of this company because your fucking mouth running has deflated the value of both now Twitter and Tesla. To the point now where he wouldn't be able to finance in any of his old financing arrangements because he's cost himself that much value by running his fucking mouth.
Dummy. For an
Big
investment
dummy.
that never get his money back. We talked about it. It is an obviously stupid investment. He is desperately trying to find a way to get out of it without having to pay $1 billion because that's the fee he has to pay for breaking this off without cause.
Well, he has to prove something, right? He has to prove that there was something, and what he's harping on is Twitter's assertion that only 5% of their account base is like bots, which
and they are. And again, I hate to
no
defend
way.
Elon Musk on anything. But Twitter is being very weird about turning over the data to allow Elon and his people to scrub that data to make sure that it is accurate. So there is some funny business a little bit, but I hope it's not enough to let him out of this deal, and I hope he has to pay $1 billion to get out of this deal.
I hope. I hope not. I hope he has to stuck with the deal because the way it's going right now, he's going to still have to pay that $44 billion. He's going to have to pay that $54.20 share price, even though now it's worth far less than that. Because that was the deal.
I think there's a clause that there's an out clause that it costs him $1 billion.
Right, but that's based on certain things, and that's like I don't think Twitter's being weird with their data. I just think Twitter's a business. I understand. Elon Musk, and if you had to weigh the two, who are you going to believe?
Oh well, Jesus, there's a lesser of two evils if I have ever presented with one. But yes, you got to go with probably Twitter.
I would imagine Twitter's probably not happy about having to talk all their dirty laundry and probably doesn't want to air that they maybe even know.
The Thunderdome, man, they're on this.
They are.
They're on Ryan Hansen, you're right. He wanted to get a look at the algorithm. Then he was just going to make his own Twitter, and Courtney says the same thing. He's just going to start his own platform. He was trying to get a look at their data, and this was his in to get a look at their algorithm and their back end.
But that doesn't necessarily go very well either. Just look at Truth Social. It's a really murky and dangerous field to venture out into social media these days because of the right wing ones. I think I forget the name of it. It's not Banter. There's only basically one that's made it as far as like a Facebook, Twitter alternative.
Made it, yeah.
Right.
Nothing will ever be as big as Twitter. No other social media platform will be that big.
Because it's so different. It's like Instagram. There'll never be like another Instagram. Like it's different.
Creating something new in the social media space. Those days are probably over.
Until something, and then something tomorrow is going to hit like TikTok, and because we were probably thinking that before TikTok or Snapchat, like, oh, this is the greatest, like Instagram. I can tell a story, like it's a video of me. Oh yeah, motherfucker! Here comes filters. Here comes music. Here comes like animation. Yeah, we'll put but so you never really know. But it's probably not for the billionaires club to develop the next cutting edge piece of social media technology. It's always somebody in their basement. Or some kid or some entrepreneur's been working on it, I don't know, for all his life. With something, never forget MySpace. Never forget MySpace.
Tom was a good dude.
Tom was a fun dude, but yeah, for sure. And if we really wanted to go back to MySpace, we could to show Jeff Zuckerberg that he sucks. But we can't. We're done talking about billionaire brats. We just are. We're just done. What I wanted to show you, we're going to get into the science portion of the show. Really quick, a couple of different things. Want to show you the difference between a $6,000 telescope on a rooftop and a $16 billion space telescope.
Jesus. Yeah, look at this. Holy cow.
And the second link is just a picture of this in Biggin. But yeah, so here we have the famous Horsehead Nebula. The picture on the right is the very famous picture captured by the Hubble Space Telescope probably about 20 years ago. The one on the left, so just recently, some dude set up his $6,000 telescope on his roof and got. So you might be asking yourself probably one of two questions. Well, why did we spend all that money when that can get the kind of the same picture? Well, it's not the same picture, right? The level of detail.
The one on the right, the level of detail on the one on the right. I mean, look at this, guys. That's amazing. You can see like the edges very clearly and like the detail in there. So.
And let's be very clear about what that is. That is just a big cloud of dust in space.
Look at that. Like almost like, for lack of a better term, beautiful.
Oh yeah, just to know that naturally occurred, and is like I think if I remember correctly, is about 116 million light years big, end to end. Right. The distance that light will travel in 116 billion years. It's pretty big.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking large.
Pretty big. I'm not going to leave you with that being the only thing from space. Holy smokes. We actually talked about this. We probably talked about this way back in the day on a different podcast, Ben, when the Japanese sent a satellite called Hayabusa 2 into space to bring back an asteroid sample to Earth. This project actually lifted off in 2014, made contact and landed on a asteroid named Ryugu, collected soil samples about, I believe, like 5 grams. So what's anybody do math out there? What's an eighth of a gram? What? So about 5 grams.
I know it costs. I know what it costs.
5.4 grams of surface material returned to Earth from the asteroid, which is located about 300 million kilometers away, give or take about 500 million miles. The reason I'm bringing this to your attention, ladies and gentlemen, because for the first time ever, amino acids were discovered someplace other than our planet. In fact, 20 different amino acids were discovered on something other than our planet. What's the big deal about amino acids? I drink them before my workout. I feel great and I get a good pump.
I'll be honest, I was asking myself.
Amino acids are the building blocks of life, period.
Oh, is that important?
Amino acids are what build more complex cellular structures. They are literally the base ingredient for proteins.
But yeah, they're pretty.
So what this tells us is that life, the eternal question of where did life come from, this gives a little more credence to the idea that we were pelted, obviously, by 100 million thousand different rocks in space. And this is the only time we're mentioning on the show today about a rock in space. That
it isn't going to be the last time?
It wasn't. These landed on us already, which gave like single cell organisms in the ocean life that led to multicellular organisms that led to little fish salamanders crawling out of the sea and breathing air to things with legs like lizards and big fucking lizards, and then birds and all kinds of tigers and cats, and then all of a sudden apes, and then we came from that's where this all started, right? And eighth is okay, Chuck Davis, thank you, sir. Anyway,
how am I not seeing?
We found the building blocks for life on something not on Earth.
Cool.
Pretty fucking cool, considering just how big the universe is. And you could just extrapolate a percentage. If we are X percentage in the universe, then that is the percentage that amino acids are in the universe. Just by virtue of how big the universe is. That's a lot of fucking fucking planets, a lot of fucking asteroids, and a lot of amino acids.
Right.
Just hinting at the possibility of life elsewhere. Doesn't have to be intelligent,
Yeah.
but
It exists. It's so ignorant to believe that we're the only planet.
here is evidence that the building blocks of that life that would flip our planet, maybe not, because people still think that AR-15s are cool to have for sport and recreation. So maybe not. Maybe they would be like, does it have a cool TV show? Can I follow its Instagram? Is it a social influencer? Then I don't really care. That's probably where we are. But hey, don't let me ruin your good time. So you were asking about my extinction level event, weren't you? You thought Brooks is talking about space. This must be it. You're wrong. This is sent to us by friend of the show and sometimes contributing to the show, Lockport Joe. NASA captures eruption of Sharkcano.
What?
From CNN. NASA's Earth Observatory has released satellite images of an undersea volcano erupting. The image, taken on May 14 by the Operational Land Imager 2 on the Landsat 9 satellite, shows a plume of discolored water being emitted from a submarine volcano. The satellite is designed to capture high-resolution images of our planet. The Cavachi volcano is in the Solomon Islands, as one of the most active submarine volcanoes in the Pacific. Cavachi was dubbed Sharkcano after a 2015 expedition to the site revealed that the crater was an unlikely home to two species of shark, suggesting that large marine animals are able to exist in an extreme environment, tolerating hot, acidic water. A scalloped hammerhead and a silky shark were among the fish species spotted living in the volcano by researchers. To peer into Cavachi's crater, scientists developed a baited drop camera to the depth of 164 feet, according to the Journal of Oceanography. The volcano erupts almost continuously, according to NASA, and the stream of steam and ash are often visible. Nearby island is named the sea. This is where this stops. Yeah. Anyway, the story will go on to tell you that
are we gonna have a lava shark
inside of this active volcano and this plume of volcanic ash and dust are two species of swarming shark coming to the surface because they're being blown up from the bottom, forming a Sharkcano, not to be confused with the Sharknado, which isn't real that we know of.
Wow. Yeah, sci-fi is already in post with this film.
For real, seriously, for real. So I just wanted to kind of that, yeah. It doesn't have to come from space, folks.
Is a silky shark just super into 90s R&B?
I want to know what the scalloped hammerhead.
Right, they are on fire. Thank you.
Total like death metal thrash, hardcore crunch metal band, Scalloped Hammerhead. Just letting you know. That was the other shark. We're not going to leave that guy out.
These sharks are able to live in super hot, super acidic water, and we're just unleashing them on fucking the world now.
That's
what's the worst that could happen?
You don't have to go too far to know how I feel about sharks.
We're all out on sharks. Here, our official stance on sharks on Topic Thunder is
not good. Not good.
Yeah. Straight thumbs fucking down.
Two.
Sorry. Yeah.
Like your chances of survival. 2 thumbs down. Well, hey, sometimes when a volcano on the surface erupts, it causes a couple things in the atmosphere. Those things are like lightning. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the lightning road. Where's my finger? The number one segment on the number one podcast my dad still doesn't listen to, and it doesn't hurt that much.
It doesn't
Ladies and
hurt.
gentlemen, the number one segment on the show consists of me reading 3 headlines. 3 stories enter the Thunderdome, folks. 1 story gets read and it gets chosen by the world's most dangerous chat room. That's you in the Thunderdome. So, ladies and gentlemen, we don't like dilly-dally here on the show. We're going to get right to it with headline number 1. Thank you for the lightning bolts in the chat room. I think it's like the coolest organic thing that's come about this entire show. Maybe besides the jokes about my dad. Number 1, how to murder your husband writer found guilty of murdering her husband.
I saw this. So great. Yes.
Headline number 2, Cincinnati man fires crossbow into White Castle after being denied a refund.
Seems reasonable to me. All right.
And headline number 3, a sheep sentenced to 3 years in jail for killing a woman in Africa. There's sharks in the chat room too. There are sharks out there. I'm going to read those headlines again because I feel like you might need to take them all in because there's the varying levels of absurdity here, which is the point of the.
Last one got me.
We don't pick the lightning round here to make it easy, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to get Ben the choke. We're going to do this all one more time. Headline number 1, how to murder your husband writer found guilty of murdering her husband. Headline number 2, Cincinnati man fires his crossbow into a White Castle after being denied a refund. And headline number 3, a sheep sentenced to 3 years in jail for killing a woman in Africa.
Oh, man. It's down to 2 and 3 to me.
Shrimp nibblers. That's right. That's right. The shrimp nibblers, they have to be involved in the story, right? So voting is now open in the chat room, folks. All you got to do is you can give us a little story, like we're awaiting the Ryan Hansen remix too.
Of course, yes.
But
going with number 3, she wants to hear about the sheep getting charged with murder. Firing a crossbow into a White Castle is kind of funny, but number 3, jailed sheep. Number 3,
sheep. Speaking of a band name, Ma Jordan going number 3.
Grave case closed. Headline, love it. Number 1 is getting a vote from Courtney.
Courtney with number 1. For the irony, I agree.
Realist novelist. Fast murder, killer continent.
I like fast murder. I like that story a lot, but it looks like number 3 is kind of running away with it here, folks.
Going to a White Castle is pretty much a murder.
That is not fair.
One of the very few things I miss about back home is White Castle.
Right.
I still have fond memories, Brooks, of OBT and about 3-4 o'clock in the morning, determining who was the soberest person to go get a crave case of jalapeno fucking sliders and crushing those, and then going to bed after a night of drinking at OBT. I haven't had a good White Castle in a long time.
Yes, the legend of OBT. If only people knew. If only people knew. Anyway, that's it.
Maybe one day we'll have a round table that will record for just OBT stuff.
It's a 3-part podcast.
We could just get like different combinations of people to just come in and tell different stories, and then that will breed people telling their perspective of the same story. Like, I think we're onto something. Maybe a side project from the producers of Topic Thunder.
We bring you OBT. For real, people might lose their jobs, but that's for another day.
Maybe we just we say it's not us and we recreate it under other names.
This story the story didn't happen, but if it did, we think it may have gone something like this.
And exactly.
Remember that comment, Brooks? Everywhere.
Feeling remorse upon getting sentenced. It's like threatening a dog with a gun.
Well, let's find out, because everybody seems to be interested in the sheep story, and this is a democracy. A democracy! And we will adhere to the vote of the people. Ladies and gentlemen, you spoke. We will read headline number 3. Sheep sentenced to 3 years in jail in Africa for killing a woman. The local court has ruled that the owner of the ram Duani Manyang Dal will also have to hand over 5 cows to the victim's family. In a bizarre case, a sheep in South Sudan has been sentenced to jail for 3 years after it was found guilty of killing a woman. According to Sudan's Radio, EYEICU Radio, the ram was taken into police custody in South Sudan earlier this month after it attacked a 45-year-old woman. The ram headbutted the woman, repeatedly breaking her ribs. The 45-year-old woman died immediately because of her injuries. Ladies and gentlemen, this might be the first time in recorded history that anyone died from a headbutt. And we all know what that means to how near and dear the headbutt is as an offensive
lawyer.
Let's get more to the back to the story. Back then, the police had informed the incident took place in Rubeck East, and the police called a place called Aku. The ram was apprehended and taken into custody at the police station. Speaking to a media outlet, the mayor explained, "The owner is innocent, and the ram is the one who perpetrated the crime, so it deserves to be arrested. Then later on, the case shall be forwarded to the customary court, where the case will be handled amicably." Now, citing local media reports, the ram will be spending the next 3 years in a military camp in Abdul County headquarters in the Sudan's Lakes state. The court has ruled that the owner of the ram will also have to hand over 5 cows to the victim's family. Moreover, the owner will also most likely lose the ram at the end of its sentence, as customary laws in the region state that any domestic animal that kills a person has to be given as compensation to the victim's family. Well, then why does it have to go to jail? Just fucking give the animal. Okay, never mind.
Again, the fucking animal has no idea
Kangaroo
what's
court
going on.
reference.
Trying to kangaroo.
Lad Bible reported that the county administrator informed that the ram's owner and the victim's families are related and neighbors.
That ram will do hard time.
Imagine, like, just kill it, shave it, and be like, "There's your sweater. We're sorry, but here's a sweater for the loss of your loved one." Anyway, and that's what's gonna happen. He's coming for you. The big ram man, the big hoss man, right? Both the families have signed a contract to formalize the agreement with the police and community leaders acting as witnesses. Can you imagine your daughter, your wife, your mom, whatever is killed by a ram, headbutted, and died by a ram, and you've got to negotiate a deal that involves the police and the owner of the murder weapon. That
It's like disciplining a dog after they've pissed or shit in the house, and you take them back to the spot. They have no idea. If you don't catch them in the moment, and if you don't correct them in the moment, the dog has no idea why you're yelling at.
This ram doesn't give a fuck.
This ram has no fucking idea. It was just doing what a ram does, and now suddenly he's in a military camp.
And Aunt Chris beating Billy Whack to a He-Man joke regarding the ram. So well done there. But
new meeting to Ram Jam.
Like, seriously, what's the ram gonna do at a military camp? Just give it to the family as compensation. What are you gonna
hang out? Yeah.
Well, we're gonna give it to the family after it serves its prison sentence. Oh God, you guys have some weird laws about slavery around here. Oh no, it's a sheep. What? Wait, could that have a sheep head? I want to know more about that. It had to be like a rib thing. It punctured the heart of the lungs. But I don't know. That's just pure speculation here on the part of Topic Thunder, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for listening to the show and participating, because
awesome tonight.
Awesome. Everybody had the pent up 2-week energy. So as we hope to stride forward with this energy, thank you for participating. We hope to see you next week. Ben, you do a podcast every Thursday now and then wrestling.
Wrestling related. We do some wrestling reviews of old wrestling shows, Michael V and I. It's a fun time. We decided we're no longer talking about current professional wrestling because it sucks. We're just going to wax nostalgic about the stuff that we enjoyed when we were youths.
I'd still like to join for like one pay-per-view, like one like 90s in your house pay-per-view or something.
Well, holding you to that.
Folks, that was Topic Thunder. Ra-pa-pa-pa.